Let's jump to this story and make everybody angry. You may have seen this story, but we're gonna bring it up here for this Friday show. This is from today.com. She offered a LGBTQ minus themed book to her children. Normally they put the plus, but there's like a dash there, so I had to say minus. Anyway, they say she offered an LGBTQ themed book to her middle schoolers. Parents filed a police report. Danielle Campomore, she writes this story saying she'd been an Illinois middle school teacher for 20 years. So middle school is, 8 to 12, 8 to 13?
Middle school is 8 to 12, yeah.
The book in question is a book called This Book is Gay. The article from today doesn't tell you what she actually did. I am going to keep the language family friendly for all of you because you may have children listening. This teacher provided instruction to children ages presumably middle schoolers, so we're 8 to 13, on how to meet adult men for gay sex. She provided them instruction on how to consume the bodily materials of other adult men.
Dude.
Yes.
There's that language again that this is how they win. This is the language because by not telling you...
I think I told them exactly what it was. I'm being academic.
No, I'm saying this is why the article wins, because the average person reads it, doesn't know that that's what that
right, exactly.
says.
It's an LGBTQ themed book.
Exactly. It's like that meme. It says like, no matter how much you hate journalists, you don't hate them enough. Like this. That's true.
Well, hold on.
That's what they were saying about the other story.
I have a question. Danielle Campomore wrote this. Why did she not include that this teacher was providing this degree of instruction to children?
Because they're trying to hide it from parents.
But why would you want to hide it from parents? Why does Danielle Campomore, this writer for Today, not want parents to know that this teacher was instructing their children on how to arrange anonymous adult activities with adults, sexual activities?
Crazy.
Why is she trying to obfuscate this?
I think because, depravity and perversion seeks more of that, more of the same thing.
Okay,
right?
you're getting warmer, but what does that mean? You're saying that Danielle Campomore is depraved and perverted?
I mean, clearly, yeah. To leave out this stuff, absolutely.
Is it possible then that maybe Danielle Campomore shares certain predilections for children that this teacher might?
Is she also gay?
Well, I don't know about that. That's not material. I mean, that's how she would write it, I suppose.
Right.
But we're talking about a middle-aged teacher giving a book to children that explains to them how to eat male fluids, or I shouldn't say, I'll be very careful, provides instruction on the process of, because it does, I'm being fair, it does tell them not to do it. Yes, it says it's not safe, but it does include definitional breakdown of how it occurs, and also what it means to consume feces. These things are being provided to children, but more importantly, it explains to them in detail how to use applications to upload their images as children. This is illegal. It's instructing them on making images of themselves to share with adults for anonymous encounters. I can only assume, I think it's the only fair assessment is, possibly, why someone working for a media organization would obfuscate this. They too are attracted to children. Because any sane adult who doesn't want children being harmed this way is not going to cover up for another pedophile.
Well, if they're ideologically possessed, they would. I mean, I don't know.
So you're saying that perhaps Danielle Campomore is not a pedophile herself, but that she wants to protect pedophiles.
Yes, 100%. I am absolutely saying that. With full-throated, I am saying that.
Actually, I would agree with that, because maybe it's viewed as like, you had that big movement. I shouldn't say big movement. You had that movement among pedophiles, LGBTP, where they're trying to get the P added to their.
Absolutely.
It didn't work, but it would make sense with that TED Talk where that woman tried saying she tried claiming it was normal. You have journalists who are like, yes, I agree with you. I will protect you.
People that are familiar with queer theory, I think Gail Rubin is one of the original idea writers for queer theory. Mario Milelli was an Italian guy that was writing queer theory. Foucault, who's a postmodern leftist. All of these people that dip into queer theory have all in some way defended pedophilia. The Gail Rubin calls it intergenerational And these are all things that if you want to go and read the text in queer theory, this is the cutting edge in sociology departments. I just got into an argument today with a friend of mine, not argument, but we were going back and forth on Twitter, and he's like, this stuff isn't happening, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, go look, because I am not the one that's asserting these things. All I'm doing is relaying the information that are in books, in sociology departments, in queer theory, in LGBT studies, probably in women's studies. These are the ideas that are in the sociology departments. I don't like them. I don't want them to be there. I didn't put them there, but don't get mad at me because I know they're there.
When they say that it's not being taught, that nobody's talking about it, that it's not real, there was an episode of The Good Doctor in 2018 where they talk about a person who has a desire for interactions with children, and they in the episode they treat it with empathy because he has not acted on it, and that's just to say 2018. We're talking a very long time ago. In that, when you really think about how long that's been mainstream, so it's not new in any way, shape, or form.
No.
And they've tried to change the language on this too, right? They're calling pedophiles. There's a push to call them minor attracted persons.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, this proves that the slippery slope is in fact very slippery. I think a lot of us, especially me, I was a little bit more libertarian in my college days. I kind of laughed when Christian conservatives said, pushing for gay marriage is going to open the floodgates. And it really has. I mean, look at what we're dealing with today in just a short amount of time.
Or the stories of people who a guy gets to go to a woman's prison because he identifies a different way. It really is, when you allow that much subjectivity to the real world, bad things can happen.
I love the, why do you care so much? They constantly say it. And it's like, Seamus likes to bring that up. And then there was so what happened with the show we were supposed to have to do this morning is that I made a comment that was a very dry statement, in my opinion, about, the normalization of transgender individuals. And it was Kim Petras on the cover of Sports Illustrated swimsuit. Now, Kim is biologically male, has undergone many surgeries, and the image had Kim halfway underwater, so you could only see half of the chest and up. And in response to my tweet, someone said something like, if it wasn't for grifters like Tim, you wouldn't even know that these people existed. And my response was, except for when they're on the cover of Sports Illustrated magazine.
And had won a Grammy this year.
And right, it was singing with Sam Smith. It's I would love to talk about the Middle East right now. Did you guys see Assad? He met with Saudi Arabia. Hey, how about this? The civil war is basically over. Assad won, and him teaming up with Saudi Arabia having this meeting implies the petrodollars on the way out. How about we talk about things like that instead? No, but our culture is dominated by people who are gutting it from the ground up. So I certainly want to talk about it.
Sports Illustrated is actually interesting because it is like the hierarchy of what is acceptable in our society right now. There was 4 covers. There was the Kim Petras. You have a trans individual. You have Martha Stewart. So you got an 81-year-old lady. Then you have Megan Fox. Her whole thing was talking about body dysmorphia. And then there was just another lady named Brooks Nader, who I wonder if she's related to Ralph Nader, because that would be very cool if that was true. But hers was just, I won a beauty contest. And I was like, why can't we talk about that? This lady beat out 10,000 other people to get this job, because that doesn't sell anymore. Because there is no ESG funding in that story. There is no ideological way to virtue signal to people that you want to build your base. They're always looking to build this phantom audience. The people who are buying Sports Illustrated swimsuit editions don't care about Kim Petras, at least not if they're paying attention, and definitely don't care about seeing Martha Stewart on the cover. But that's the hierarchy now. You have to be some type of oppressed group. You have to fit into an affinity group someplace for it to be relevant in the culture that they're pushing on us.
Do people still read these things?
I was trying to explain that. I was like, you will not understand how important this was as a symbol in the 90s. Maybe not so much anymore. Can you get a tablet edition of it? I have no idea.
When you go to a Walgreens or a Walmart or something, you see the magazine section. You'll notice when you're checking out at Walmart, the magazines don't have names anymore. It's a thing. So I see a magazine and it said Captain America all really big on it. And I'm like, what magazine is this? And then really, really tiny, it's Time Magazine. Because it doesn't matter anymore. They know nobody's buying their magazine. What they do know is, or maybe not Time, but the logo is really small. People will see, oh, I like Captain America. I will buy a Captain America thing. And then they're buying the magazine. Because people aren't reading them anymore.
No, I mean, and there is a certain homogeneity of the message. Like you get GQ with, trans men on it, and what is it, health with fat ladies on it, and it's just size. It's just the total homogenization of the message. It doesn't matter if you're picking up Rolling Stone or if you're picking up GQ or if you're picking up Women's Health or whatever. You're getting the same message. It is absolutely the same message.
Going back to whether or not these people can the left can survive in the future. I just don't see it. I can't see this stuff making its way into the future because, for one, like I mentioned, it's self-destructive, but people are not like people. So I'll put it this way. I made the joke on Twitter based off of John Dye's joke. I said, start complimenting liberal women by saying they look like Dylan Mulvaney or Lizzo. Everybody immediately understands what the joke is. While these liberal women will say Dylan Mulvaney is beautiful or Lizzo is beautiful, if you say you look just like them, they will get angry because inside they know they're lying. They don't find these people attractive. That's the kind of thing that says to me, this cannot survive. This cannot persist. The culture they have of lying about how they really feel about things, everyone on the surface might lie, but then they won't actually act upon those things, and those things will not exist. Yeah. They can go on, and on top of that too, if they keep coming out and saying people like Lizzo are beautiful, like, this is going to lead to a high mortality rate for a lot of people. Once again, it is resulting in the loss of life on the left. The right is more likely to be like, cut out the sugar, stop eating seed oils. How many times have you heard in the past week, stop eating seed oils? Like, come on. The right won't shut up about it.
That and the microplastics.
Microplastics. But see, like, the right, whatever that is trying really hard to be healthy, to be responsible. I got glass bottled water here. We get it for all our guests. You do have plastic because we're not that crazy. We just try to do better. But if the long run, the trajectory just seems very simple. The left starts to disappear and the right expands.
I get what you're saying, but like historically, when we've seen these kind of ideologies try to push for influence and stuff, there's mass death. So you could be right. There could be a lot of people that end up dying. But that's also something that happens.
Mass death in which direction?
I mean, well, if they get in control, if they get into positions of power and actually can make policy, then you're going to end up seeing a massive push for the reduction of carbon usage and and that means reduction of energy usage. They don't want to use petrochemicals to fertilize any plants and stuff. So you're going to see famines. You're going to see death of not just conservative or not just left, but conservatives too.
Why conservatives?
Because it would be a worldwide death because you'll see significant famine. It's not going to start with the U.S. It'll be in places where there's already on the edge of famine. That's
American conservatives will be the last to go.
Sure.
And then what happens? 20 years later, conservative United States.
I mean, maybe.
So we can put it this way. Let's say there's two potential forks. The left sterilizing and aborting their kids. They're promoting unhealthy lifestyles and promoting sterilization of individuals. Over a long enough period of time, they just won't exist. Well, let me finish. That's one potential. The other potential is they gain massive political power over the institutions, take over, and then start culling their opponents. Either way, the Great Famine, whatever ends up happening, as we often see with big communist regimes, the Soviet Union lasted about 69 years. And then what happens? It falls apart. If it does, conservatives, who tend to have their own sources of food to a greater degree than liberals, the pressure is still apparent. The left taking over means famine and death, but it's the people in the cities who are urban liberals who are the first to struggle and have no access to resources. Conservatives are going to be out in the middle of nowhere with chickens, goats, guns, and a garden. At the very least, not every single one will strive. Will thrive, but many of them will be okay. Plus, all the preppers are right-leaning.
I don't disagree with the ultimate result. Like, I don't think that the left will ultimately win because I think that constantly it eats itself and there's all kinds of problems in the ideology. I just don't think that it's going to be any kind of smooth sailing to get there.
Who said it was smooth sailing?
No, I'm not saying that
it could be the most catastrophic nightmare scenario we could imagine, but the end result is the right wins.
I think likely because I think that there's there's merit to your arguments about the way that people on the right live and the way that they organize their lives and stuff. But
I'm looking at it just like basic probabilities, right? You don't, when you bet on a horse race, when you bet on the long shot horse 40-1, you win around 40-1. Imagine if they were like, the horse got a 40-1 chance to win, and we'll give you, you bet $100, we'll give you $10 if you win. You'd be like, wow, why'd I do that? All likely I'm going to lose, and even if I win, I don't get anything. I'm looking at this right now. It's like the probability exists that, sure, when you're looking at any roll of the die, we'll do that. It's possible that Snake Eyes comes up. It happens all the time, but it's just 1 in 30 rolls for it to happen, so it's unlikely. I think it is very unlikely in the long term the left succeeds. They may have short-term victories. They may get, they have many institutions, I believe, right now. But over a long enough period of time, it just fails because it's not physically possible. Even if we break it down to just simple economics, centralized command economies cannot work.
Right.
Just unless there is some AI takeover.
Yeah.
well, I mean, that's
Go with that.
Or if everyone's saying, like,
Is it also fair to point out that there's a difference between whether we're talking leftist tactics and the average neoliberal who will definitely support a lot of these policies but are raising kids that are still going to end up in government, still are having traditional families, they're just not telling you that the things that we're talking about are a problem, right? They still support them. They just don't, it's NIMBYism. They just don't support it in their own backyard.
Yep.
They're fine with that.
Like those kids.
Yeah, so the problem is that, like, yeah, you could, in a lot of ways, the fringe types are going to find themselves eliminated from the gene pool with their decisions. But the Nancy Pelosi's and the rest of the politicians are still having kids. They're still expanding and creating their own political oligarchies in a lot of ways with their families. I don't see if necessarily it goes away that quickly.
I think the establishment people just do whatever they think earns them power. And if the left is removing themselves culturally and physically, then Democrats will gladly come out. They will gladly come out in support for cutting taxes for the rich if the power structures support that idea. It doesn't matter. They're vanilla yogurt. You know what I mean? Just like whatever's happening in the world, they'll say like, sure. Mm-hmm. So I think it ultimately comes down to, we have two big populist waves, and one is like, not like everybody on the right is healthy and fit, but more likely to be meritocratic, more likely to live in rural areas with better air, with access to at least some ability to get their own food. I mean, look, right now outside, I can see all the mulberries growing. And we have those mock strawberries. It's really funny. Have you ever seen the mock strawberries?
No.
I didn't even know about these things until I moved out here. They're these little tiny yellow flowers, and they grow what looks like strawberries on them. And you can eat them. They're just flavorless. They're like pretty bland, and no one really cares for them. But the chickens eat them. They gobble them up. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm out here. We got chickens, we got eggs, we got berries, we got the pawpaw fruits that are like crazy, and we're not even trying to have that food. Mm-hmm. You live in a city, there's no food outside. You go to a store, you get your food, or you don't. Out here, we have choices on walking outside and finding things to eat if we so choose. Typically, we go to the grocery store. But putting it at that, if society collapsed right now, we out here in the middle of nowhere would have little bits of food. In the city, they would have none. Yeah. That's enough. People out here are more likely to survive than people in cities.
Not to mention all the pressures that come from population density in those places when something bad happens.
I am wrong. They actually have a lot more food in the cities than we do out here. Each other.
Exactly.
For real though. There's no people out here. So it's like, I got to eat a deer. We got a lot of deer though. And turkeys.
So many deer out here.
Yeah, turkeys too.
Yeah. How's your car there, Serge?
I still haven't gotten looked at, but it's just annoying. There's too many.
They're everywhere.
Wow.
You had a deer?
Yeah, I had a deer going on the highway when it was foggy the day. Yeah.
When? Recently?
Yeah, it was on, what, was it Monday, Tuesday?
Whoa.
Yeah, something, right?
Dude.
It's just because it's foggy and there's literally so many of them. There were like, I think 10.
We got to eat them,
yeah,
man.
Literally. I know. Totally.
You know, I'm trying to eat the chickens, but my brother doesn't want to eat any of them. He's like, no, we can't. And I'm like, come on.
Talking about the guys in the back of the...
Well, the roosters for sure. I've been trying to make rooster stew for like a year, but my brother's like, we can't eat them, man. Like the foxes are eating them. Like I think a couple of them died. Wow. But they're mostly all okay. King Roberto is still all right. He's in retirement. He's doing well. But I'm ready. We got too many. We got babies now. They make more of themselves. And then we give them scraps. We give them leftovers. They eat bugs.
Yeah. It's because they're not turning their kids into trans individuals. They're actually they actually, you know.
Well, actually, we mostly bred out of the chickens the broodiness. So yeah, it's actually not super easy.
Delivery.
The silkies will have
house.
babies.
Yeah.
The fluffy chickens, they desperately want to have babies. And then we have a cochin, and she had 2 babies, and so she stands there with little babies. It's very cute, And then one day we'll eat them
Yeah.
because it's food, and I have no problems. I don't care. I'm like, yes, they're cute. Yes, I love my chickens, and they're also my food.
Chickens are, it's really hard to love chickens. They're so stupid.
That's why I love them.
Well, I mean, like a dog, I get it. I get loving Bocas. I get loving a cat. Chickens, they're tough to love. They're
Nah,
Well, Seamus spent
They're funny.
Seamus
Dude.
spent 2 hours on our podcast talking about how dogs don't have the capacity to love.
Yeah, he's wrong.
Yeah, he's totally wrong. You see, here's the thing about Roberto Jr. He walks around minding his own business, and he's a stand-up guy. We had leftover sushi today, and we went out, the sashimi, and when we would try and give some to him, he would make sure the girls got it instead. He always just like stands above it. He'll look down, and the girls will come and take it, and he'll just stand back up, and he keeps watch.
What a gentleman.
He is. He watches guard all day. He's less concerned with having food for himself. He just wants to make sure his girls are all right. He's got a lot of girls.
There's no chickens saying, "Where have all the good men gone?"
No,
None of
Roberto
that.
Jr. He's a good dude. And see, that's the thing about chickens. Roosters will sacrifice themselves. Did you know this?
Did not know that.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, they
I am offended by people saying, using the word chicken to imply cowardice, because a rooster will charge to its death if it means buying time for the hens to escape to safety.
Wow.
That's braver than most humans.
Now somebody gets attacked on a subway and they just don't intervene
Exactly.
because the chicken won't get sued, so they don't want to get involved.
This is why I want to donate to Daniel Penny, because he exhibited the spirit of the noble rooster by defending the people.
You should
on
tell
that
him
train.
that. Like, somebody should be
did.
told.
I mean, the rooster, like, I when I was reading about chickens, I was like, wow, no, for real. And then we had a hawk attack, an eagle, or I think a hawk. I don't think we have eagles out here. A hawk swooped in trying to get our chickens. And then Roberto, his dad, yelled, runs to the door, because we had a caged off thing, and then there was a door they can come out to the garden. It swoops into the garden. He runs out and stands guard in front of it, waiting for all the girls to go in, and then goes in last. Like, dude, these guys, these are stand-up
They do.
dudes, man. Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.